Well, hello there, you beautiful people. Welcome
Hello.
back.
I'm back.
Muller's back. He's joining us again.
I
Yay!
crawled out of the editing cave. I walked through blood and bone, and I made it all the way here.
I think it was absolutely worth it because we were just talking before we began this recording here just how much I enjoyed your review of Fallout. I thought it was excellent
Yay.
stuff, and it was a fantastic video. And I think you should be really proud that you were able to pull that together so quickly.
It was a huge combined effort from 7 people. We had a big old watch party of the premiere, and I was telling them like how thankful I was with everything that they did, how amazing the work is, and also that the final render was, I hit go on render about 6 hours before the premiere happened. That was tight, to say the least. And I can't believe it's still up. I had a feeling it would get hit with copyright. Which, by the way, not a single copyright problem on that video. I don't know how it happened. Every video I do has copyright issues, but this one, not yet. I have a feeling they're trolling me, and I'm gonna get one in like a week's time.
You'll have made your money off it by that point anyway, so it'll be okay.
Anyone listening to this who's intending to put it off, if you want to see that video, watch it now. I don't know how much life it has. You never know with YouTube; they could be dicks. But
I actually,
a nightmare.
I wondered because there's a few violent bits there where you get people's heads getting crushed, and I thought, is YouTube going to do that? Not suitable for advertisers thing.
I doubt you'll mind saying it, but Lil Platoon sent me a message saying, "How come you can say fuck, shit, and cunt without getting?" And he's like, "I've been bleeping those. Is there no reason to bleep those?" And I was like, "No, there's good reason to bleep those, but I hate bleeping in my videos. I want it all to be there. I'm willing to make some compromises, like don't swear in the first, is it 30 seconds or whatever?
I go for 90 usually, but
whatever it is, I'm like, yeah, I can have a chill intro. I don't mind doing that, but
yeah,
no swearing throughout. Nah, come on. I'll do that for like the TFA series where it's very calm, analytical, and like we're just having a chat about writing. But for something like, Fallout, I was like, motherfucker, this is so stupid. Like, I hate this shit.
I think the thing that triggers it is if there's too many clustered together in a short space of time, then it tends to trigger it. But if it's just
interesting,
like maybe 20, 30 seconds between each fuck, then you're probably all right.
Well, Metal sent me a message saying, does this set the record for the amount of time someone has said retard in a video? Yeah, maybe.
We were just talking about that the other day. Like, I missed the word retard. People don't use it enough nowadays. There you are, like using it like a trooper.
A couple of the editors were like, "Don't change that. It's so funny how many times you say retard." And I was like, "Fine, if people like it, it's a good word."
It is, yeah. Sometimes like only retard will do when you have to describe something. So yeah, perfect.
The one I was fond of was satire does not mean retard.
Yes,
saying
that. I loved it. You had to keep coaxing it out of the audience as well. Like, this character did X, Y, and Z that made no sense. Why? Come on. Why is it? Why do you think? It's because they're retarded. That's right.
Good times.
But yeah, we obviously missed your glorious presence on Open Bar the other night. We managed to muddle through more or less. No, it's sometimes we have higher purposes that we get called to, so I understand. But it's good to have you here for this. There's quite a few super chats that came in. Some of them will be for specific people, but a lot of them are just general questions. So
yeah.
And weirdly, like a few of them on the night were actually like for me and you. So even though I'd specifically said multiple times Mauler's not here because he's busy working on something else, but they just thought, what the fuck, we'll just do it anyway. So
maybe they knew I would be in the catch-up.
Possibly, yeah.
They know what's going on. They know what's up.
They might, yeah. I will, anyway, well, I'll begin, and let's see what we can answer together.
Sweet.
Ghost Text says, "Hello, Drinker. I've thought of a new criticism topic called All the King's Men. It focuses on valid reasons why a protagonist solves an issue that other institutions can't without handicapping the villains." Okay. So you're saying valid reasons? Because I was going to say, like, it's a bit of a trope in storytelling, bad storytelling anyway, where you've got a problem that's persisted for quite a while and just nobody can figure it out until like superhero protagonist comes along and then comes up with a pretty easy solution.
Yeah.
But I guess what you're saying here is valid reasons. So is there ways that can work well? I mean, I suppose there is, yeah. Maybe the protagonist has a piece of knowledge that nobody else has that allows them to fix the problem. Not sure, but yeah, sure. Nathaniel Hope says, if you guys are after a hidden gem of a show, check out Mr. In Between. It's about an Australian hitman trying to be a good dad, and it's pretty much perfect. I've heard
Sounds like
many
fun.
people talk about it. Yeah. Maximilian Millerick. So long as you bought the physical version of Stellar Blade and have your PS5 in offline mode, it won't be censored when you download it, I think. That is true, yeah. There's a patch that causes the censorship that people are up in arms about. The problem is, obviously, if you want to stream it or whatever, you're going to have to download the patch or it won't go online. So they're going to get you one way or another. They're going to get you, which is a shame. Snacks asking the big questions in life. Hail Open Bar, big question. Eve or Sydney Sweeney? I might choose Sydney Sweeney on the basis that she actually exists in the real world.
That is a handy plus. Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that one. I don't want Eve like treating me like a Dark Souls boss at any point, you know.
That is, yeah. She is based on a Korean model, though, isn't she? So the body type is. Was that?
We'll date the model.
We'll have her, yeah. She'll do, you know.
We'll accept that, I suppose.
I'm thinking of all the cosplay opportunities that's going to result from this. It's going to be glorious. Yeah. Zyxlon Doppelganger says, anyone who bought Stellar Blade on launch is legally entitled to a refund if they want it. Refund, you say? Can I keep the game?
As much as they've changed outfits and stuff, it seems to me that people love the game. Like overall, they're just having shit tons of fun on it.
Yeah, and it's relatively minor censorship. It'll be like an extra half an inch of fabric that's added here and there, so I can live with it.
I haven't looked into it. The thing that baffled me, because I think it was mentioned on my stream and I brought it up, is just like, why didn't they mention the naked outfit? As in, like, why didn't they censor the naked outfit? I'm confused. Why would they censor?
I know. I suppose because, you know, as you get through the game, the difficulty starts to ramp up, and you're probably not going to be able to take on bosses in the skin suit.
Well, if you go story mode, right?
Yeah, true. And like when I was streaming it the other day, I got to a point where it was just clearly a story section. There was going to be a lot of cutscenes, so it's like, boom, skin suit on. I'll watch those cutscenes play out. Perfect.
It just seems to me like the first thing you'd go for if you were like a prude. You'd be like, that suit needs to go. Or we need to make it all covered in fucking something, you know, like fur. You can't possibly see anything.
But yeah, we've managed to escape so far. Who knows what they'll end up doing with it. Sam Wallace says, breaking news, horny Asians have human rights. Californians most affected. Yeah, dude. I'm offended on their behalf. Ben Mangery says, I think Grums and Keith should have live conversations to figure out exactly how he feels about DEI and death threats. I believe there's common ground that can be found with him. You all just need to talk in person. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting conversation I had with Grums where he was talking about people putting a bounty on his head and stuff. Like, I mean, I know that they were being kind of facetious. At least I assume they were when they did that. But, you know, I feel if you made that same kind of joke about a different person within the gaming industry, it would not be treated so lightly. If you catch my drift.
It's kind of tough forever. We all draw the line somewhere. We all tend to, you know, have like a limit on, you know, because there are people who'd be like, no, I think everything's okay all the time. And it's like, even those people know that there's still a limit in terms of the example I always go with is like if someone's family member just died, you just know you don't typically go like, lol, idiot, nice dad you don't have, or something like. It's like we all know there's social blah blah blah, and I think we all know that there's like an angle of fucking kill yourself that should be fine because we're obviously joking or whatever. But when you put a bounty on someone's head, it feels weird. Like it's like
yeah, because you never like. This is going to shock you guys, but there's a lot of weirdos on the internet who take things super serious, and they might just decide, like, you know what, bounty, eh? Like, I might just act on that.
Because I saw
it's a tiny chance, probably, but it's still a chance, and I just don't think you should joke around with things like that.
Yeah, I think if someone said, like, so would you condemn it? Like, just probably shouldn't do that. Just find another way to make a joke. Don't do a bounty on someone's head. Just let's not risk it. How about that?
Yeah. Adurian says, as a man who loves high-cut swimsuits and bikinis that show the full hip, that outfit is ruins. Oh, yeah, because we showed an example of how it had been censored slightly. I mean, I think you still get a pretty good picture of what she's got going on there, and it's good. Suna Soul Silver says the fact that we get sausage shots of Order 86 and the awkwardness of The Last of Us Part 2 is fine, but Japan games get instantly censored is unacceptable. Yeah, Grums was kind of discussing this, where it's like you can have kind of full frontal nudity almost in Western video games, and it's considered okay, but then Eastern game devs are like much more heavily policed with this stuff when their games get released over here, and it's a bit of an odd double standard. I'm going to call it racist, Mauler, because that's what we call everything that we don't like now. So there you go.
Didn't Chris Gore call it like hot phobic or something?
Probably, yeah. We have to put up with the uglification.
Why do you hate hot people? Stop. It's discrimination is what it is.
What was it Gary said? Because he was getting interviewed on Fox News, apparently.
Dude.
He was talking about video game characters, and he's like, oh, yeah, the problem over here is they made them all fat, ugly lesbians.
Yeah, he said fat, ugly lesbians on Fox News.
Absolute legend. I just love the fact that Gary got into an in-depth conversation about video gaming.
That was so fucking funny, dude. What the hell? Like the guy being like, I'm not too into games, but you, and it's like, what? What are we doing the meme? Or like, you knew that Gary was just sitting there like, what the fuck?
It's like, okay, I clearly need to pivot this conversation away.
Oh, it was excellent. I still thought, because like when he said like summarize Gamergate or whatever, I was like, does Gary, like, is he going to know what to say about like the gaming aspect of it? I thought he did a really good job of summarizing it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the sort of thing you could get bogged down in and spend like 15 minutes trying to describe it all, and it's like, no, he just gave a really high level view and then got it on track to something that was more relevant, and I think he did perfectly well.
When it happened, it was such a weird event, and like looking into what everyone had to say and trying to figure out what the fuck even happened. It's so weird that back at it now, and it's like a core foundational. It's like it sounds stupid, but it's like it's a war that happened that has defined so much of internet culture. Like what feels like 100 years later, it's like it all goes back to game again. It's like it does.
And it's such a weird thing for me because I wasn't even aware that it was happening. Like I wasn't active on YouTube at the time. I wasn't kind of aware of the culture around video games at the time. And so I didn't even find out about it really until years later. And
I remember Tall Biscuit having to deal with it. It's so weird to think about that became like a hyper important, and then Gamergate 2, of course, which I don't even know if that's a thing or not, or if it is, right? Or
I mean, it feels like people tried to make it a thing, but like it's not been as explosive. There's various controversies rumbling along. Like obviously, we talked about the censorship in Stellar Blade with the Sweet Baby Ink stuff and all that, and it's creating ripples, but it doesn't feel like it's such a big deal as it was with the original.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could be wrong there, but like...
I mean, I'm not as in the loop as a lot of people are.
Yeah. But it's definitely still going on, and I suppose like there's just this heightened awareness now of like, this is a problem which is now existing within Western video games, and it's getting worse. Maximilian says, sounds like Sony is both racist and sexist towards any game that isn't Western. I agree. Honky Kong says, ye and hail, gentlemen. Hail to you.
Hail.
James Moore, the current Sony head, has stated that he's wanted to drop all Japanese studios from the company, and for the last 7 years, Japanese developers have said to buy the uncensored versions on other systems if available.
Wow.
Damn.
State of the industry, eh?
It's a bizarre thing to come from Sony as well, a Japanese company. Like, we don't want to work with Japanese developers. Like, why? Like, it's your country. Gunky Zip says, Hard R used to refer to movies like Blade 1 and 2 and Kevin Smith movies that had too much swearing. Okay. Luka Filipovic says, American culture is a cancer on the world. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. But
there's a lot of good stuff in there, Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Zombie Licorice says, strangely enough, Stellar Blade is a straight-up hero's journey style story, like a tarot card, Joseph Campbell stuff. It kept the story compelling despite the over-the-top premise and stilted dialogue. Well, you're further into the story than I am, Mauler.
Am I?
Well, I did. You are, yeah.
I made it to... I'm just after we went, like the big town when you first go there?
Zion.
Yeah, I'm like an hour after the town.
How? You've been playing it way more than I have.
I did 2 streams and then I did non-stop editing.
Ah, okay.
So
fair enough. Yeah, so we're kind of roughly at the same point then, I suppose. Yeah, you met the sort of old guy who's like fixed into the machine and stuff. Yeah. Okay, cool. Maximilian says, I'm surprised that Endymion isn't here. Well, we just had him on like a few weeks back, so I don't want to keep bringing the same people on over and over again. I want to kind of vary it up.
Let them have a rest.
Yeah, and you know, we'd never had Grums on before. I know he's like been super involved in all this stuff, and you know, Sargon has not been on for quite some time, so it was good to have him back. And Tyrone, it's been a few months since we've had him on Open Bar, so it was nice to bring some of those people back as well. Matthew Ivy says the reason they attack Eastern devs so hard is because Eastern devs are more resistant to the message. This and East Asians are considered white. like white adjacent or something, apparently. Yeah, I mean, I know they're not so keen on the same socio-political ideology as Western devs. Maybe that's it, but they make good games, and that's what I care about. This is Kyle, says, this is Puritanism. This is safe horny. These people were the same ones drooling over the vampire girl from Resident Evil 8. They're fine with sexualization, just not the kind that straight men find attractive.
I mean, straight men liked Vampire Lady, didn't they?
I think there was a lot of thirsty guys after
Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu, yeah. I don't know about you. I like my women 10 feet tall and that weigh like 400 pounds.
You know what? I don't blame anybody. Maybe not my style, but you know, I'd have a drink with her. I'd be like, you know, let's talk about what you're up to in your day.
Yeah, I'm sure she gets up to some interesting things. I think you need a lot of drink for someone of that size, though. She could probably drink me under the table. High Def says, love Tyrone's channel. I was wondering where the name Magnus came from. The same name as my uncle. I'm white as a ghost, by the way. Love from Iceland. Yeah, I'm not sure why Magnus came from. I don't know if that's like, is that a stage name or something? Yeah, like, I know he's an actor, so maybe it's that. But yeah, I'm not sure. Axiom Seraph says, Grums, I had asked before about cancelled Blitz games. I was really wanting to know about genre and gameplay details like Nomads and Shattered Nation. Unfortunately, I can't answer that one for you, Matt. I'm sorry. Lord Wahoo says, Sony is originally a Korean company and Korea has an unpleasant 100-year history with Japan. There's a lot of two-way racism in East Asia. Is that true? Is Sony from Korea originally?
Oh, well, I was going to bring it up earlier, but I'm not as familiar with Sony's history, like, so I don't know why it's got these positions necessarily. Yeah,
I'd have to take your word for that, guys. I don't know. Luka Filipic, sign the petition, #free Stellar Blade. Well, we did put it up during the open bar, so the link was there, and it's there on the upload as well. Hurricane Laura says, they said Eve from Stellar Blade would make women want to kill themselves. Eve made me inspired to hit the gym and work on my glutes. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess people take different things from characters like that. Yeah, it's such a ridiculous notion. Were they assuming like women would look at Eve and be like, oh my God, she's hotter than me. I have to just end my life because I just can't handle the fact that someone exists who's hotter than I am. It's like, that's bizarre. Nobody's that fragile and so naive, you know. But yeah, if you took something positive from it and hit the gym, good on you.
Yeah.
Prince Grammar Fascist says, please, sir, just calm down. I don't have any money. Okay. Stefano Borini says, notes, this has reached also the pharma industry. Okay. Beard says, when did the 90s Christians, Puritans come back into vogue? I don't know, man. Like, this is... I don't know what any like political side represents anymore.
Yeah, no, it's really weird to figure out what's going on anymore because, as was mentioned, like they seem to like sexual stuff in certain contexts,
like with bestiality and stuff. Like, can't
you
they'll have a bear in like
fuck a bear, yeah. So, but as was mentioned, everyone seemed to like Dimitrescu. So how does it work? And I think you might have been on the point with the person you read out, or it was you. But it's like if it's as simple as that girl is fucking hot. Then they'll be like, hey, I don't like that. It's too simple. It needs to be something else, or something. It is weird. It's something to understand at some point, to be studied in a university.
Yeah, but it's frustrating as fuck because in the meantime, your entertainment just gets completely butchered. It's like you know what? Stellar Blade's a perfect example. I want to see a hot woman in a skin tight outfit with big tits and a big ass, like kicking ass and being awesome and killing monsters. Great.
And for the record, if you want to have really buff, shirtless guys running around as well, fine.
Sure, I don't mind that. Like, it'll just make me look at them and think, yeah, damn, I need to hit the gym a bit more. That's okay by me.
There you go. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. Sam Wallace says, I think of wokeism as bizarro puritanism. Yeah, it just echoes the previous point, I guess. It means whatever the person who said it at the time means. And that's all you can draw from it, really. There's no consistency and there's no logic to any of it. John McKinley. Hail Drinker and panel. Appreciate your review of Helldivers. I just wish it was longer. And I don't miss Mauler at all. It's fine. I'm not crying. You're crying. I was crying on the night as well. I just had to wear my sunglasses to hide them.
I wonder if hopefully they appreciate the exchange rate of one lost open bar and a real BBC and an EFAP. In exchange, you get a full video. So there's that.
Yeah. And the Helldivers one is a complex one because I just did my review and then like the day later, like fucking the dev team just completely tanked their reputation.
It's like, well, update time.
I know, yeah. It's like I've got this like review singing the praises of Helldivers and saying how much fun it is. And it's like, oh fuck. Typical. Well, I can't legislate for that, I guess. Honest Guardian, do you guys think there's a light at the end of the tunnel where companies and developers might actually listen to the majority of the consumers and gamers? Sales could go up again. I think so. I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit with movies and so on. I think, as I've always said, the deciding factor will be when the money runs out and they have to abandon ideology in favor of profit.
Well, it came out recently, right? The Marvels is the biggest box office loss. Is it of all time?
I think at least over the past 5 years or so, and it could well be of all time.
I can't remember if I saw someone say that, like, if you don't adjust for inflation. I think that's what was said.
Yeah. And out of the top 5 box office bombs of the previous year, had Disney not been responsible for 4 of them? So, I mean, I guess all of this is to say, like, money is not infinite. No matter how big and powerful you are as a studio, as a game development company, whatever it might be, if you keep producing shit that your customers don't want and don't buy, the money will eventually run out, and you can either change what you do or you can shut down. The choice is yours. I'd assume they would pick the sensible option, but you never quite know. Carlos Rue says, I signed the petition even though I'm not a gamer. Hail. Wow, respect to you, sir. Well done, man. I think, sometimes it's about the bigger picture, I suppose, so nice one. B-Chain says, I remember Mythbusters testing if bigger boobs leads to more tips. End result, both men and women tipped Kari when she had bigger boobs, with women tipping more than the men. Wow. I don't know, does game just recognize game? Like, other women are just like, yeah, respect for having them. Like, gonna tip you. But yeah, who would have thought that people would be, I don't know, more generous towards someone they find attractive? Jacopo Ortolani says, hello, Drinker. If you want to talk about forced ugliness in video games, consider getting Ciel in here. He definitely have plenty to say about it. Am I saying that name right? Ciel? Cyael. I'm not sure who that is, but okay. Aaron Wilson, Sony Interactive moved to California. That's why. I remember the OG God of War games, Gravity Rush. Sony used to co-publish Square Enix games, Dead or Alive and Metal Gear. Can't imagine that now. Yeah. Well, explains a few things. The Deep Fryer says, to be honest, these DEI reps and consultancy groups seem to be detrimental to the creative process. How can you tell a comprehensive story in a game if there's so many hands in the pie? Yeah, I agree. And it comes down to any creative endeavor. If you're trying to tell a story and the studio making it hands you this list of requirements and say, well, these are the rules that you have to adhere to while you're telling your story. These are the things we want you to work in. These are the ways you have to treat certain characters and certain demographic groups and have to portray them. it's detrimental to the artistic process because it ties your hands behind your back and forces you to do things that might not fit with the story. I mean, that's common sense, and naturally, I'm not in favor of that because I prefer artistic freedom.
What do you think about like when they were making films, let's say horror films, and then a studio person comes in and says, "This scene where the guy gets his head ripped off, you've got to make it like smooth and no blood because we ain't getting, no way we're going to be getting the R rating for this. We need to get it to more audiences."
So when it's a commercially driven issue, I mean, something like that is not going to be. That's not going to affect the writing. That's just going to be the second by second portrayal of a scene. So, like, the script will still say, like, guy gets head ripped off, but it's up to the director to choose how he shoots that. So, I would have less issue with that probably. Whereas, I don't know, if the studio guy comes in and says, well, the guy can only rip the head off a person if they are a straight white male, and while he does it, he has to make a point about the evils of capitalism or something. Like that's when I would have an issue, because it's like, well, you're rewriting the story, I guess, to suit the messaging that you want to put in. That's a different thing for me.
Yeah, no, I think it's a decent dichotomy to draw, because obviously it could start to knock it up a few degrees. Like if they said, we want the musical track here to be a little less scary because we think it's tonally it's too scary as is. Put some clown music in.
Yeah. No, but I think, you've touched on things like this before where, like, we talked about, in the final season of Game of Thrones, things like the coffee cup that was left on a table and like, is it in the shot? And it's like, well, we can digitally remove that. Fine. Where do you stop with things like that, though? Where's the point where you say, well, this is going beyond just fixing a goof and it's actually changing what you're doing, but you're retroactively altering something that was shot?
I assume, I can't remember if we agree on this, but like, I'm pretty much on board with keep the coffee cup there. It's there. That's how it went. That's fine. It's a goof. We all know it's a goof. You don't have to airbrush that out with streaming. Basically the reason I draw it there is because I never, ever want to encourage changing movies and TV after they've been released.
Yes, I agree. Particularly when it's without the permission of the filmmaker as well.
God, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, dude, even with their permission, I hate to bring it up, but George Lucas, like, famously,
yeah, I know where you're going with this.
It's like, stop fucking with it, dude.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to do better than what you did back in the 70s. Just leave it. It's fine. Yeah, I agree. 6-1. Jose Antonio Rodriguez says, have you watched Baby Reindeer? It's good but disturbing. Would appreciate it if you made a video about it. Interesting you should ask that. Yes, I have watched all of it, and I was planning to make a video on it for my second channel. I just need to get around to it. But yeah, I thought it was actually a really good story. The performances were fantastic across the board. Seems like a fairly incongruous situation until you get to understand the protagonist a bit more and understand his personal history. And then a lot of the decisions he makes that don't really line up with what you would do, they make a lot more sense. So yeah, it's a really interesting study of abuse, trauma, repressed memories, and coming to terms with horrible things that might have happened in the past. So yeah, I recommend it. I don't know if you've seen it more.
Nope.
Well, if you get a chance, give it a go.
Sure.
Dearest says, this started with third wave feminists. They first attacked men claiming that female action heroes were just tits on a man. Ripley and Croft, for example, they were not feminine enough. Anita started then. I mean,
yeah, I've never liked the whole like it doesn't count to like Ripley because she's just a guy. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, what does it mean for liking a female character for how strong she was, courageous she was, like stalwart, intelligent? It's like, yeah, but because like, isn't that the thing, she was originally written as a guy or whatever?
Yeah, but then it's intelligently written, and she doesn't act like a kind of ridiculous parody of what they think a man acts like. Like super aggressive and trying to dominate every situation. She just is a sensible person who makes rational decisions throughout that entire movie. She asks a lot of the questions that we would ask in a situation like that.
Yeah, the whole Darth Vader thing, killing subordinates. Like, everyone always brings it up. Darth Vader destroyed everything with that because they did it right in Star Wars, and now every fucking media since then is like, I know, I'll make my villain scary by having him kill someone for no reason. It's just like, a dumb thing learned. I feel like Alien had one of those. It's probably lots of them, to be honest with you. But one of them being the we've done something crazy on this alien planet that's given us, parasite, egg, infection, whatever. Got to get it on the ship. How do I write that? Alien does it beautifully, where Ripley basically stays strong on like, you're insane. We can't bring it on board. We have to put it in quarantine. All this really good stuff. And then Ash just opens the door. And it's like, what the fuck? But then when you watch the whole film, it makes a hell of a lot of sense why he does that. Meanwhile, like a lot of films will just be like, fuck you, I'm opening the door anyway from the outside, and they just do it. And you're like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
But like Ash overpowering her manually from the front door when he's a pretty high rank on that ship, isn't he?
Well, he's a science officer, yeah.
Or science officer, yeah. So, it's just another thing to note of like, it's such a small effort that probably doesn't even get noticed. And it reminds me of editing, right? Like some of the best edits, some of the best CGI, you don't even know it's there. And I feel that way about our writing.
With that, it works on two levels because, like, the explanation he gives initially makes a lot of sense. Where he's like, it was the choice between letting Kane die outside and bringing him in and giving him a chance to survive. So it was a compassionate thing to do, and it was, it's a pretty like sensible thing to do, I guess, to try and save one of your crew members, even if it means violating protocol. Because nobody's like too concerned about protocol and rules when one of your friends' life's at stake. So okay, that works as an explanation. Then obviously you find out, well, he's got a completely ulterior motive and he's obeying company orders and he's a fucking android. So like, that's good. That's good writing because like both explanations work in context. So great. That's good stuff. Do more of that, please.
The fourth wall break in Alien. Have we talked about this before?
I don't think so.
It's something I found out because it was a Folding Ideas channel that highlighted it, and I thought it was fucking fascinating. I always think about it. I bring it up sometimes on different streams, but it's when he's coming close to killing Ripley. In fact, I can show you right now if you want. We got time, right? Just a little bit.
Sure, it's not nobody's waiting, so that's fine.
I mean, I think people will find this interesting anyway.
I finally got this answered for me as well. Like, that scene where Ash tries to attack her and she's got like a nosebleed.
Yes,
and it seems to come out of nowhere. Like, you know what happened there? It was like a deleted scene where he tries to depressurize her and like.
Oh, okay.
So like Ash seals her in an airlock, tries to open it. She manages to get back in before it fully depressurizes, but it causes like hemorrhaging, and that's why she's got a nosebleed. But that was ultimately cut from the film because it was too like time consuming and too difficult to shoot.
All right, so I got it up.
All right, hold on, bring in.
I'll be all right. So it's about to happen. Basically, what happens here is the camera's moving back, and either the cameraman or someone hits the chime in the room.
Ah, okay.
But the crazy thing is, and it's something I fucking adore about it. Ash notices, like you hear the chime get knocked, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Because how did that happen? There's nothing in this room that could have done that, and he tosses her at it. But it's the person walking by that knocked it.
Yeah.
But it's in the movie.
So what, did Ian Holm just like look around like, what the fuck was that? And then he's like, oh, carry on with the scene.
I don't know. I haven't researched into it or anything. I just got showed it and I was like, that is fascinating. Like, because that's a fourth wall break. There's no person there. Like, it's like, wait. What just happened?
That is pretty cool. That's such a disturbing scene, that as well. Like, he plays it so well. Like the way he's like, I don't know. It's like he's been partially damaged already, and he's kind of flipping out a little bit, and like the way he's like rolls up the fucking magazine to shove it in her mouth and shit. Like, yeah, it's cool, man. It's so well done.
Hey, I'll check the comments on this for sure. But if anyone's got any extra context on that makes it make more sense that I've missed, then feel free to let me know, because I've always just found it so interesting.
Yeah. Because Parker and Lambert would have been too far away at that point and they certainly would have like intervened already if they saw him attacking her. So
I'm willing to entertain that I'm insane here, but like the reason I find it so interesting is that it's like God's hand accidentally knocked something in the world, and the Ash was like, "Wait, what the? Like, was that a glitch? Like, why did that just happen? What the fuck?" And then tosses Ripley at it because he's just like, whatever. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going
on. All right, here we go. Dave's Arc says, Cayman America is also breaking through within the comic book world. There is hope for our entertainment, boys. Well, let's hope so. Ghost into Craig, wicked small panel. Cheers and thank you, Grums. Like it. Yeah, we were small but perfectly formed. on the night. Marek Adimiek says, keep up the good work. Stay strong. You're all Giga Chads. Excellent. Yeah, I need to expand my jaw right now. Placebo Shotgun says, yeah, Macross, have some cash for good taste. May Harmony Gold go bankrupt like the scummy company that it is. Okay. Captain Jean-Luc Bacardi says, gentlemen, Speyside or Highland Scotch? I'm going to say Speyside as a general rule because it's softer, it's a bit milder, less peaty, so that would probably be my preference. Aaron Wilson says, there's a great Yoko Taro quote about Nier starring a katana-wielding big booty girl with black lingerie, heels, and a blindfold. I just like girls. I mean, sure, that's a good enough explanation, I guess. Skeets of Rage. Would Grums be willing to reach out to Sacred Symbols / Colin Moriarty? They disagree with his conduct, but I think they all need is a conversation. Not sure. I can forward that to Grums and see what he says about that. Chris Gilroy says, Drunker, don't say the name as you may summon it into existence, but what is the status of the Disney film with 7 short men? I don't know, actually. I've not heard anything about that for quite a while. I mean, it had been delayed by a year, hadn't it? Probably why they did frantic reshoots to try and fix the thing. I wonder how Rachel Zegler's getting on these days. Not heard much about her either. Maximilian says, hail the panel. Drinker, what is your favorite part of Stellar Blade so far in terms of story, mechanics, etc.? It's probably going to have to be the combat so far. It's been relatively light on story so far, so I'm still getting a feel for what the world is like. But yeah, the combat is nicely challenging. Like some of the boss fights so far have been kind of difficult, for me at least, because I'm a bit incompetent at games. And yeah, it's like I don't know, it's a bit like Elden Ring, but easier. You know, it doesn't make me want to kill myself with the combat. Like it's a nice level of challenge. You can employ different strategies. You've got to learn to get the timing right with it. So yeah, I think I enjoy that aspect of it quite nicely. I don't know about you, Mauler. I don't know about you, Mauler.
I really feel like I because it's been a while now since I played it in my head. Like it's just been nonstop with other things. Like I'm going to plan on completing it on the stream, so I'll probably give my perspective on all that stuff once I've done it.
Cool. Mindless Meat says, I bought the game twice, one digital and one physical. No regrets. Nice. John McKinley, Vasquez from Aliens, half babe, half butch, 100% badass. Always had a crush on her, or is that just me? No, I can get that because she's just the right level of butch. You know, there's points where you see her and she's got some curves to her still. So yeah, and she's cool as fuck. So respect to Vasquez. Idolatry says, I remember the dildo bat from Saints Row. How is that allowed and this isn't? I don't know. Reaps says, just a quick and humble recommendation to have Kirsch on sometimes. She's just as deep in the DEI rabbit hole as Grums and has plenty of odd stories. Who is Kirsch? Hold on, let me check. I assume it's a YouTuber.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let's see. So, yeah. Yeah, she talks a lot about gaming and stuff. She's obviously a gaming channel. Yeah, I would need to go into more details, but yeah, she's got a special on Adam Sessler losing his fucking mind. Actually, yeah, she was on Side Scrollers talking about him. So, yeah, there we go. What's the next one? Tim Love. What good movie do you think was elevated to great movie by actors' performances? I'll pick Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman because he was incredible. Thanks for the open bar. Keeps me company on late night drives. Nice one. Yeah, movies that were elevated by good performances. Anything with Anthony Hopkins in it.
Sure, but one thing I will say, I feel weird saying it, but like I think it's true. The Lord of the Rings, fantastic in every element. But if we didn't have the performances from a lot of those actors, I feel like a lot of things would have hit much flatter.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the entire trilogy demands a lot from its actors, and if they had stumbled or they picked the wrong people or whatever, oof, that could have been a disaster.
like,
imagine if Gandalf was played by a shit actor.
It's lauded for its casting. It's amazing. Like they pretty much nailed everyone.
Yeah.
So
I remember being a bit unsure about Viggo Mortensen at the time, weirdly. But
well, he earned everyone's POV as
I mean, certainly once I got into it, that changed a lot. But yeah, I think it's just because I had a very strong mental image of Aragorn from the books, and he was slightly different from what I pictured. But yeah, he definitely pulled it back. I mean, to quote recent examples, I would say like Walton Goggins elevated Fallout. Maybe it didn't elevate it very far for you, but like, you know, he's a good actor. He does a really good job, and he plays his heart out in that show. So
no, I think so. I think he thoroughly enjoys playing the character. I think that like that bleeds onto the screen really well. That he's enjoying it. And to be honest with you, if anything, I think he's wasted in terms of like, imagine what we could do with him.
Yeah. Don Mack says, seeing a picture of Sydney Sweeney makes me quote a line from Jaws. Those proportions are correct. I think my favorite quote about that was the community notes when someone decided to say like, Sydney Sweeney's boobs aren't that big. And then the community notes were just, yes, they are.
Yes.
And it was like 100,000 upvotes or something. That's amazing. Silent Evil says, looking up H6 videos on YouTube and Chris Stuckman's review pops up. Click on to check out. At the very start, he says he's no longer going to talk negatively about new movies as it could affect his own industry endeavors. Well, honestly. Now,
was that
you've never really talked about Chris Stuckman, Mauler, so
no,
what's your
not
take
really.
on that?
Wait, so what were they saying? This is something he said recently?
So looking up H6 videos on YouTube and Chris Stuckman's review pops up.
H6.
Yeah.
Halloween? No.
That's a bit obscure though, isn't it?
Well, because yeah, we've definitely. I'm just wondering if this is a new thing you said, or is this just the regular thing? Which is we all know that he's got a perspective that is.
I mean,
don't be critical. His thing was don't be critical of shitty movies because there are artists that worked hard on it and they don't need to be told that everything was shit.
Yeah, and I think he took that stance like maybe 2021, 2022.
It was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a few years, and yeah, H6. It could be that, I guess.
Well, the assumption is that he didn't want to destroy industry contacts and connections. Which, to be fair, if he had just said that, I think we'd all probably be fine with it in terms of like, all right, if that's what you want to do, yeah. Like I mean. Because like I wouldn't blame anybody for not wanting to work with him after he shat all over their movie, so it's like, I mean, this is the thing. When someone says to me like, Muller, what would you do when Disney gives you the power? It's like, Disney will never ever work with me. Like, why would they ever?
And I think that's perhaps something that he might learn to his cost one day. Like, he'll never be one of the boys. He'll never be accepted into the Hollywood club because he didn't come from that world. He's a critic, or at least he started out as a critic, and I don't think they'll ever respect him as a filmmaker, regardless of whether he puts out good quality entertainment. Because he might, who knows, he might make amazing films, but I just don't think they'll ever let him in that way. Yeah, that just seems like that kind of place. But I love it as well because my question just got answered with the next super chat from the same person. Speaking of H6, Halloween 6. It's my favorite sequel, and I even argue that it's the best, the last good one. If for nothing else, any of them with Donald Pleasance is automatically better than those without him. So
that's when he said that he would start doing it? I didn't actually know that.
I want to see my Halloween.
I will take a look, though. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers? Is that the video?
1995 that came out. Jesus. So, yeah, Donald Pleasance was in it.
Huh.
Wait a minute. He can't be in it. He got killed in Halloween 2. He blew himself up.
Oh, yeah, but he comes back.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I've got no words for that one. I'll just move on. Arbox says, reminder that live-action Aslan was able to emote despite being a realistic lion. It's not impossible. Disney are just too shit to do it. Well, I mean, possibly, yeah, but I just don't feel the need to see films like that. This is the crazy thing, because we were talking about the live-action Lion King movie, and it made like $1.6 billion. It was absolute insanity. Crazy popular.
As a sign of the culture changing, that Mufasa trailer, didn't it get like shat all over?
Yes. It got ratioed, and they had to disable comments on it. So, yeah, wow. Mayhem Writing Company says, speaking of prequels, we get retarded Furiosa instead of getting an origin story for the Ayatollah of rock and roller, the great and powerful Lord Humongous. That's what I wanted. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, you excited for Furiosa?
That might be one of those ones where I'm like, well, if other people tell me it's worth seeing, I might check it out.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same way. I just actually watched The Fall Guy today. I was supposed to watch it for Friday Night Tights, but I didn't have time. So I finally got around to it today. And it was fine. It wasn't as good as Bullet Train, I don't think. But, you know, it's one of those things where you've got Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt together. Like, that should be a real winning combination. I just feel like they didn't quite make the most of them, which is kind of a shame. But, you know, could have been worse. It was a relatively entertaining film. Real Scythe says, hey guys, you all rock. Just signed the petition. I'm playing Stellar Blade and loving it so far. Hey Mark, do you have a YouTube channel or something where we can catch you? Keep fighting, guys. There's still hope. Cheers. Yeah, I looked for Grumsy's YouTube channel, but I don't think he's got one. So yeah, I couldn't put a link to it, unfortunately. But yeah, glad you're enjoying Stellar Blade. Maximilian says, Drinker, what's your favorite suit in Stellar Blade? I think you know the answer to that. It's no sin. The only winning move is not to play. Jose Antonio,
hard mode, right?
Yeah. See, I did it a lot in the early stages because it's basically just a big tutorial. But like as the difficulty started to ramp up, it's like, nah, fuck, I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and put armor on.
It's just funny to refer to it as hard mode. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Jose Antonio says, watch Baby Reindeer. It's so good but disturbing. Yeah, as I was saying. Yeah, Gabriella says, hey Drinker, your old happy hour episode encouraged me to watch Dog Soldiers and I loved it. Great depiction of the horror of living in Scotland. 10 out of 10. I know, I mean, we have to contend with werewolves on an almost daily basis here, so you've got no idea how lucky you guys are.
Yeah, we just have sheep. We're sheep.
In which case, I was gonna say, you guys have got sheep, but in that case, you're the predator mauler. And they live in fear of you.
They made horror movies with the protagonist just a sheep.
Yeah.
In Wales.
But yeah, Dog Soldiers, love that movie. It's great fun. Could always rewatch it. Miss Martin Muses gave me a rose, so thank you. Sunderbrace says, follow up from Mark. No hard feelings, man. Appreciate the detailed answer. Lots of good info. Hoping the Ember succeeds as well. Never let them take it. Yeah, so he'd given a previous question for Grums about a game that he'd had some involvement in. Grums explained that like he was basically like forced out like a year before the game even released. So it's kind of unfair that he, you know, gets associated with it because I don't think it was very successful. Marine Lad says 2 things. Rank the non-remake OG Resident Evil games. Also, what adapted game to film? What game do you want to see on TV and cinema? Yeah, my answer would probably be a good Resident Evil adaptation because we still haven't had one. But for the non-remake sort of OG Resident Evil games, I would rank them RE2 on top, Resident Evil 1 second, Nemesis third, and then I'd probably put fucking RE4. Nah, well, that's not really an OG one, is it? I think it's
not really
that's the trilogy. Yeah, that's kind of taken it to a different era of gaming. So
we shouldn't include RE4 because it would dominate the leaderboards. Okay, it's so fucking good.
I got a thing for the originals.
I know.
Can't help it. I'm a Resident Evil purist. Trenchman says, "Hey Grums, what's your opinion on Xanderhall's video on you?" I don't know what he would say. Xanderhall has some interesting takes, as I recall. Did he make one on me?
Oh, he's made one on everybody. He said he was looking forward to when he saw the first 2 episodes. I'll never forget this. The funniest fucking shit. So the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power, and he said he can't wait to see the remaining 48 hours. It's one of the most baffling things. Like, and he says he's like, so weird that they made the first 2 episodes an hour each when they're going to be putting 48 into the remaining, like, what was it, 6 episodes or whatever.
Oh,
like he'd mixed up the 5 by 10, you know what I mean, 5 season 10 episodes.
Yeah,
one season. Yeah, he made like a huge set of posts being like, Mola calls everything woke, and I was like, you have no idea who I am. Like, why
he must have mixed you up with someone else. Calypso Silva says, I want to see this film eventually. Drinker and the Quest for the Golden Kebab. Bonkers and entertaining. I'm in. Yeah, sure, I'll star in that. That sounds like a good quest to go on. Shaker Silver, did Sargon forget the whole twist of Star Wars where Vader wasn't just a complete bad guy but a fallen hero? Luke himself nearly fell to the dark side. Well, yeah, but I think what Sargon was talking about there was, as a general principle, sometimes it's okay to have definitively bad villains. Like the Emperor is a definitively evil villain. Like, we don't need to see,
well, I think,
I don't know, his origin story or whatever.
Vader was pretty much definitively bad in A New Hope, Star Wars, you know? It's Empire that they start to make things a little bit more complicated, and then Return of the Jedi. It's what makes it a trilogy. But like,
yeah,
I wouldn't blame anybody for saying he was played pretty straight bad guy in. I keep bobbing between wanting to call it A New Hope and Star Wars, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and you know, I think he was commenting on the general trend towards like nihilism and like moral relativism in modern entertainment. Like, if we were to do Lord of the Rings today. Oh fuck! I mean, we've got Rings of Power where they try to recontextualize Sauron as a misunderstood anti-hero thing. I don't even know what the hell they're going for with him.
I will say a lot of these things probably wouldn't be anywhere near as terrible if you had a writer who knew what they were doing. But like, because they can't even write strict bad guys, can they?
Well, no. Yeah, I think this whole thing came about because it's like every so often you get the retarded conversation about things like Starship Troopers, where in defense of the arachnids, like they're actually like misunderstood and they're the good guys. Like, oh, fuck off. Rory Swain says, Hail the Drinker, Mauler and Co. Have you ever seen the cinematic masterpiece called Playback Time? It's directed, produced, and starring Carson Clay. Never seen it, never heard about it, I'm afraid. No. Xianhu says, Aren't the people who want to make every villain sympathetic the same people who want to cancel everyone who doesn't agree with them? Yes, it's funny how that works, isn't it? Slain Hope says, woke Warhammer is an oxymoron. Yeah, again, Sargon was perfectly correct when he was talking about that. Like, Games Workshop desperately wants to try and make it woke, but it really doesn't lend itself to those ideas. It's the antithesis of it. But it's not an aspirational future. That's the point that people seem to keep missing about it. Alexis Amadeus says, Sargon, what the fuck? Those PMC guys in Deadpool were shown throughout the movie as at best armed, dangerous, militant men ready to kill, supporting evil people doing human experiments on the desperate. Yeah, he mentioned that might be interesting to get your take on this. He kind of didn't like Deadpool because Deadpool just kind of indiscriminately murders people, even just like low-level soldiers who may potentially just be regular Joes who are just doing a job. And I was like, well,
I can tell you who murdered the most indiscriminate low-level soldiers in probably the history of movies would be Luke Skywalker. Death Star. Do you know how fucking many people worked in that thing?
Yeah. We've all seen the Robot Chicken sketch. Yeah, I mean, it's I think he was just plucking an example out there, but yeah, when you see it's one thing to see the Death Star explode and just kind of intellectually know there was a lot of people in that versus like actually seeing them getting individually killed. I suppose it makes more of an impact on you.
Sure. I mean, if you were here, I'd happily inspect what he's talking about there, because obviously I don't remember minding at all that Deadpool was slicing through all kinds of people in that movie, but you know.
Real Scythe says, Hey Drinker, have you seen the new Ark animated show? It's complete woke garbage. It's just fucking trash. Nope, never even heard of it. Don't know what that is. Metal Face Rosie says, Sargon is not a contrarian because the contrarians kicked him out for saying, actually, too much.
Damn.
Nico Night Eye, if you've read any Warhammer 40k books published in the last 6 years or so, you know they're chomping at the bit for the woke stuff, inserting as much as they can. I mean, this is what I've heard. It's like Sargon, again, was talking about it quite extensively. I think he communicates with Arch quite a bit. And Arch has told him a lot of things that have been going on behind the scenes. A lot of their writers are apparently inclined that way. So that's perhaps where it's going. But it's such a weird universe to try and work like progressive politics into. Like I say, it's this horrifying nightmare future where like humanity is just like this quasi-religious militaristic dictatorship where they sacrifice thousands, if not tens of thousands of lives every single day and don't even blink about it. Like, this isn't a future that you're meant to aspire to. It's a horrifying future. You can't really work progressive ideology into that. Like, it's the exact opposite. I don't know. It's weird. Next one. Mario Trujillo says, Carl, don't you like the Chaos Marines? If so, that makes everything all the funnier. Still, congrats, mate. Yeah, apparently he's got a character named after him in Warhammer now. It's Sarkon of Agad, which I think is pretty cool. Rabbit Games. Look, no man ever gave a shit that Wonder Woman came from an island of all men or that Steve Trevor is the sidekick without being incompetent. Therein lies the hypocrisy and lie behind wokeism. I think you mean an island of all women.
Yeah, I was getting confused for a second there.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, Wonder Woman, I guess, was able to get away with it because it seemed to be, I don't know, a less abrasive kind of movie with those ideas in it. It's definitely one that doesn't hold up to much scrutiny, though, because I remember doing a review on it, and the more I tried to break down the mechanics of, like, Themyscira and the shield around it and all that bullshit, like, good lord. That film does not make any fucking sense.
Many issues with Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Eli Cash. Has anyone on the panel ever seen Pitch Meeting by Paul George? I feel like it's a funny short summary of your videos. Drinker for PM of the Scots. Yeah, I'd vote for me. With Pitch Meeting, you mean like the YouTube channel, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, if they're talking about him, yeah, I think everyone's familiar with Pitch Meeting.
60 Watts says, great show, guys. The difference between 999,000 and 100,000 is much more than just 1 to the human brain. Okay, cool. Through the Wormhole says, I'm interested in Carl's opinions on BG3. What would that be?
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure then in that case, unfortunately. Cody Griffin, my friends and I just decided to not move on to the newest edition of 40k, and in Age of Sigmar, problem solved. Don't need to buy the new models or the rules. Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. It's always this tough thing with, you know, these franchises where they release new rules, new lore every so often. And that lore now becomes like the new official current thing, I suppose. Like, that's the state of play of the world. And in theory, yeah, you could choose to ignore it and say, well, I'm just going to adhere to an earlier version. But I guess you're going to kind of know, well, that's not like the official version anymore. Because like you could apply the same thing to Star Wars and say, well, I won't believe that anything was made after like Return of the Jedi or whatever. Like, all of that just didn't exist, and that's the world that I'm going to live in. But you're going to know, well, this other stuff did get made, and that is canon. So what do you do? Like, how do you get around that? Hello?
How do you get around what exactly? Sorry.
Well, just the sort of knowledge of, because what this person is suggesting here is like, in the case of Warhammer, if you don't like the new updates with female custodies or whatever, you can just choose to not buy that new rulebook, and you can just live in a sort of earlier version of that universe. And I guess what I'm saying is, you could do that, but it's like you're always going to know that like the actual official lore, the official state of play of the world has kind of moved on, and it's different now.
Could that be sort of transposed over to Star Wars, as in like you ignore the new stuff and continue to? Yeah. Well, so then Could you do that with the games?
Well, I guess that's and I think it's more of an emotional question, I suppose. Like with taking Star Wars as an example, and as I said just a minute ago, you could say like, well, nothing existed after Return of the Jedi. Like that's where the story ended for me, and it's fine. But like it didn't, and there's like official canon stuff that did get made after that, and that's where the story went.
Yeah, I guess I need a more specific question, because like, does that is the equivalent question? Why would I watch Acolyte after what they've done to all of this? It's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't. And if the same question then is, why should I at all engage with any future Warhammers? Like, I guess you don't have to if you don't think you should.
Yeah. Excuse me. Albert Nada Retro said they aren't happy that Jane Foster gained something. They're glad that Thor lost something.
If he did die by the end.
Sure, yeah. But the conversation, for context, was there's a lot of people out there who push for stuff like this, whether it's in this case like, oh, we should have a female Thor, or in the case of Warhammer, well, we want to see female Space Marines or whatever. The underlying psychology behind it seems to be the same. Like they're not really happy to see like more things added. They're just happy to have taken something away from people they don't like. So if we get the new Captain America movie where it's Sam Wilson and it's like a black Captain America now, they're not happy that like that's our new role that's been gained for him. They're just happy that they've taken away like that white character, essentially.
We're already getting the replacement Falcon as well, aren't
we? Who knows? Maybe.
I've seen posters of him. It's just like, damn, we're moving on quick.
Yeah, it's just a revolving door of characters, I suppose. But I just think it's an interesting piece of psychology. I think with a lot of these people, like they more live to take things away from people rather than add things into the lore or the world that they claim to care about. It's it's nice. I suppose. Some clever name says Star Trek is lost. Star Wars is lost. Now they are coming for their replacement. There can be no compromise with lying, manipulative violators. Indeed. The Highlander says Jennifer Salke, head of Amazon Studios, is the blame for this. That's probably Rings of Power, I guess. David Nearswich says, hello all, please sign the petition for Stellar Blade. I already have, actually. Sunderbraze says, hey Sargon and gents, if you had to field a legion from 30k, which would you pick? I'm a boring loyalist, so I'd go with the Imperial Fists. Cheers, man. So from like pre-Horus Heresy? Okay. I think probably is it the White Scars? They're like the guys who do hit and run, and it's they're based on like the sort of Mongolian warriors that would fight on horseback with bows and arrows. Because I know there's a chapter called the White Scars, but I think that's their successor chapter. And I think the original Legion was, the White Scars. Yeah, I like their style. I thought they were cool as fuck. And I like their Primarch as well. So that'd probably be my choice.
I like the Glurgs the best.
I thought you were more of a Blurgadurg man, but shows what
those guys are a genetic aberration of the Glurgs. Glurgs are pure, and they're going to take over one day. They just need to get to their. They gotta do that thing they gotta do.
The funny thing is, right? I think you would actually have a blast with just the lore of 40k. Like, I don't know, if you somehow were able to set aside a year and just read all the fucking novels and stuff, like the full history of it, I think you'd probably find it quite fascinating because it's an incredible world that they've built up for it. Flav says George wanted to make a tech head boy's own thing. His wife turned them into a trilogy with her editing. I've heard so many conflicting fucking accounts of this. I don't necessarily love this whole like, oh yeah, this is like Star Wars was saved in the editing bay and she's actually secretly responsible for all the success that Star Wars had. It's like, really, I think you're placing a bit too much on her head. Like,
what's the channel? I'm just gonna keep recommending it. I've been recommending it for like what feels like 2 years at this point, but fuck. How Star Wars was saved in the edit. is a video by Rocket Jump that has 3 million views that was made 6 years ago that many people blame as the reason why everyone thinks Star Wars was saved by Marshall Lucas. There is a video called How Star Wars was saved in the edit was saved in the edit.
Okay.
It's a really fucking good video. It's from Nerdonymous, and he goes over how that not only is that video pretty dishonest, but how he's genuinely interested in finding out the truth, and he goes through a bazillion sources, and he just cannot find definitive proof that she was any more responsible for the quality of the film than any of the other editors. And the conclusion is that George Lucas is behind a lot of the genius of Star Wars, which I'm more than happy to concede.
Yeah. Do you think this is just an element of like it fits with modern sensibilities? Like we have to like try and come up with this reason why actually it was George Lucas's wife who was secretly responsible for all his success, and it's like you can't just let him have fucking anything.
It gained a lot of traction, people say, with the hatred of the prequels and the Plinkett reviews. I think that's even mentioned in the video that it's something that the RLM guys will claim as well. And so it reminds me, I think we had a conversation about this before, but whenever someone who we respect does like a really great film and then they do a really shit one, we need to find an explanation. So we go like, oh, was it that the studio interfered? Was it that they didn't care about this one? Oh, have you seen the quote where they say they're working on something else? Maybe they just didn't care about this one. And it's like, sometimes the answer is boring, and it is, they're capable of doing some really good stuff and some really shit stuff.
Yeah.
Like, huh, okay. And you'd be like George Lucas in the late 70s versus the 2000s or late 90s, whatever, is going to be a different man, different artist to an extent, And I think we human beings love a fucking story, and we love to make sense of the world through stories and patterns. And so everyone, I think, with what you just said, like everyone's very willing to believe that it's the ex-wife that saved Star Wars. And it's like I said, I said it once on Real BBC, and I got a shit ton of people being like, "Shut the fuck up! You have no idea what you're talking about." And I was like, "I think I do, though." I fully recommend the video. It's 2 hours long, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I might take a look actually. Jan Javi says, "Hi, Drinker and panel. Best 80s remakes, if there are any. Fright Night was not too bad in my mind." So, 80s remakes. So, are we talking remakes of 80s films or films that were remade in the 80s? Because The Thing is a remake. That was pretty fucking awesome.
Greatest remake of all time, probably.
The Blob remake I remember being quite good.
Yeah.
Weirdly,
that's, Frank Darabont, right? He made that.
Yeah, they did a remake of Night of the Living Dead, which was actually not too bad as well. Didn't have the sort of charm of George Romero's movie, but
we have now got a really weird trend of horror. But I was going to say the other greatest remake of all time, The Fly, Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yes,
it's an amazing horror film.
Have you actually seen the original?
No,
it's so fucking goofy.
I know about it because of Simpsons making fun of it. That's about my knowledge.
Like Cronenberg went such a better road with this instead of like literally swapping heads with a fucking fly. It's
funny. There's so many picks for it, but like the body horror aspect of The Fly is so well done. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Invasion of the Body Snatchers is another one, like the Donald Sutherland version. I think that might be late 70s rather than 80s, but it's pretty close. That's all.
Did you see the Nicole Kidman remake of that?
Oh, God, yes. So shit.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was so awful. Daniel Craig was in it. It was a fucking terrible movie.
I remember that, yeah.
It's sad. I watched that and the original back-to-back, and I was like, Jesus. Like, what happened?
Yeah, because the first one's from the 50s, I think, and it was just one of those like typical sort of goofy 1950s horror movies. But yeah, I remember watching the one from the 70s with Donald Sutherland when I was a little kid, and that legit scared the shit out of me. Like the noises they make when they've like, they've been alerted. Like, God damn, that's freaky.
Yeah.
And I'll even add to the list the Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead, which was pretty good. Like, so un-Zack Snyder-ish compared to, like, his other stuff. It was a pointless remake. I don't really understand why that film got done, but, for what it was okay.
Very fond of the original, but I do like his version. There's a lot of things I like about it,
yeah. Albert Nada Retro. The best Western is The Searchers, starring John Wayne, Jeffrey Hunter, and Natalie Wood. I would dispute that. But I mean, it's a lot of it's going to come down to preference.
Oh, yeah.
Jan Javi says, Finn not being the main character is a big missed opportunity. Finn not being a character of any kind is a big missed opportunity.
I was about to say that. I was like, really, oh god, it's funny because pretty much everyone agrees now. There's no one left who defends Finn. It's just like, yeah, that was sad what happened there.
Yeah. M Campia U fan says, long time listener, first time super chatter. Just as long as we don't get a G&G Avengers, I think we'll be okay. What would G&G be?
Geeks and Gamers?
I mean, yeah, let's go with that. Sonny Close says Chuck Norris built a time machine to prevent the JFK assassination. After deflecting the bullets with his beard, Kennedy's head exploded from sheer amazement. That's it. You would have created a paradox otherwise. Even Chuck Norris can't get around the rules of time travel. So,
damn it.
Shame. Vet Gamer Bosiphus says Grum's Freestyler Blade. Salute to you. Nice. Armchair Troop says, no DEI in my video games. All my games are niche military simulator shooters made by small AA developers. Examples include Arma 3 and Escape from Tarkov. Nice. I tell you, the case for like just playing retro games gets stronger and stronger with every passing year. D. Brugani says, The Mummy is the best Indiana Jones film made after The Last Crusade. Yeah, I love The Mummy.
It's fucking great.
There's it's one of those movies that's getting like its 25th anniversary release at the moment, and people are going to see it at the cinema, and I'm like, fuck, that sounds good. That would be a good trip to the cinema. K-Lock says, anyone checked out Obliterated on Netflix? Kind of like an A-Team thing, chasing a nuke around Las Vegas with some drugs and sex thrown in. I've heard about this. I actually like the premise. It's like a sort of counter-terrorism team that think they've stopped a major terrorist incident. And they're like, cool, job done. They all go out for a night on the town and get completely rat-arsed. And then they find out, like, no, it's they've missed something. And, like, the actual real plot is still going ahead. And because they're the only ones who are, like, there at the time to try and stop it, like, they're having to try and take on terrorism and stuff while being drunk.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's quite a cool premise. One of my friends has seen it, and he said it was a good laugh. And Hirukimami says, congrats on 2 million drinker. Hail. Thank you. It was a pleasure to reach 2 million.
Yeah.
So we got there. And yeah, that was actually the last super chat on the list. So well done to us as well.
Well.
Thank you, guys. I want to say thanks for sending in so many on the night. There was a bunch of really big ones as well that we kind of read out as we went through it. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I know it was a slightly different open bar from what we normally do. We covered a lot of gaming content, which we don't normally cover. We've had a sort of different mix-up of guests. So thank you for indulging me on that. But the next time you see us, I believe Mauler and I will both be in attendance on the next open bar on Thursday. So we will catch you there. But for now, at least, that's all we got for today. So go away now